Let's see, who do we have in the audience? Good afternoon and welcome. Kathleen is from the Brede Bubble Beckies in McGregor, Western Cape. Ooh, lovely. And Vanessa is from Cotlands. Hi, Vanessa. Lovely to have you here. We have someone from Mitchell's Plain in Tafelsig. Yushra, welcome from Kids Empire ECD Centre. So nice to have everybody on here. I can see some names that I recognize. Hi, Nosipo from David Barpone and Chandra. Welcome all the way from Mamelodi East, Pretoria. And Random Kids ECD Centre in Bloemfontein. Good afternoon, Bloemfontein. Welcome. And welcome, Rhonda from the Yard. So many messages, so many names are coming in, too fast for me to read. Please introduce yourself and have a look in the chat to see which of your colleagues are here. Their names I recognize. Hi, Shireen from Easy Kids in Johannesburg, Rodepoort. And Lunel Swart, also from Cottontail Cottage in Durbanville, Cape Town. Welcome. We've got centers from Strandfontein, Chatsworth, Pelican Park, Johannesburg, Durban, Mofokeng, Sandton. Let's see which of the rest of the country. Port Elizabeth, welcome. Welcome, Port Elizabeth team. All right, wow, so many messages. It's lovely to have you here. My name is Helene Brandt. I'm the marketing manager for Grow ECD. Thank you for making time today. I think it's going to be a jam-packed and very fruitful hour for you. HR issues in ECD. It is a hot topic. Hundreds of people have registered for this webinar. And today we are joined by SA Childcare Association and some special guests who will be helping us on the journey to navigate some of the basics of HR compliance. So feel free to use the chat section to share any questions that you have. Because we have a big topic to cover, we're not going to be able to answer each question, but you will see we are going to cover a lot today. So let's get started. Can you see my screen? Excellent. So to start off briefly, I'll introduce you to our guests and give you a very brief overview on Grow ECD and SA Childcare, for those of you who don't know us. We'll dive straight into the challenge of HR and IR in ECD and look at the HR/IR toolkit that SA Childcare Association has put together. And then we're getting very practical. Get your notebooks ready, get your pens and paper ready. You'll want to be writing down the tips and tricks we will be sharing across 11 sections that you need in every staff file. And finally, we'll focus on how Grow ECD and SA Childcare Association can help you. If there's time, we'll also dive into your HR and IR questions. We'll look at what the most sought after questions are all about. So before I get into the first section, I just want to introduce you to our guests. Hans is an HR and IR specialist. He works at SA Childcare Association. He has years of experience in HR and IR. And I think most importantly, in HR and IR for ECD centers specifically, because that's really what we are looking for today, not just HR in general, but how it applies to preschools, creches, and ECD centers. And we also have Arno on the line, the boss of, the big man of SA Childcare Association. Thank you, Arno, for joining us. So why is Grow and SA Childcare Association working together? Well, those of you who know Grow, you'll know that we are all about how you can run your preschool like a business while also delivering quality education. So we're really interested in how we can connect and equip and support ECD centers across the country so that you can run your preschool like a business to become financially sustainable while also making sure you're delivering excellent education in your classrooms. So we have lots of tools and services, including our free mobile app, our free resources resource portal with over 350 downloadable templates. We provide free online training that's focused on business and education, practical topics. We provide curriculum, classroom kits. We have a baby program. And one of our most popular training courses is our ECD Small Business Accelerator. That's for when you want to accelerate your ECD business. So you'll see now why we wanted to work with SA Childcare to bring you this webinar. I don't know, welcome. Baie welkom by ons. Why won't you please introduce yourself and give us a short overview of SA Childcare?
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm Arno van der Merwe and I'm with SA Childcare Association, and proudly so. Our slogan says stronger together, and that's what we believe, and that's why we and Grow ECD Centres, I think it's a good combination, because what we provide, both of our organizations would help you better your ECD Centre. So it's wonderful, the opportunity. Thank you very much for that. So in short, we started off SA Childcare with Association having a heart for the ECD sector. We believe our mandate is to look at the sector, to make sure it runs smoothly, to see where we can help you as an ECD owner and staff members and so forth. So just in short, what we do offer an ECD NQF level 4 and 5, which is an accredited formal qualification for ECD. And we also have accredited short courses that we offer. We, as you understand from our association, we have members. So there's certain support functions, basically, which you can have if you're a member, a contributing member. Then we assist with registrations at the Department of Basic Education. And if you need to register as a private primary school, we even do that for you. And we have virtual health and safety assessments, which one of the prizes today is that. And it's a wonderful tool for you to get a third eye, if you like, on your premises and how safe it is for children. So we do that free of charge for members. And today also you will be able to win one of those health and safety assessments, which is fairly, it's cumbersome, but we make that as short as possible for you. But we do assist, and it's a very, very good tool. And then obviously with the HR and the IR toolkit, it's a massive need out there. What we're trying to do is just give you some hope and peace of mind, because I know most of the ECD centers do not comply. We know that, and we're working towards getting you HR compliant, because you don't want a department official coming there. You don't want to stress out. So today we want to help you, and we want to get you to a place where you can feel confident if anybody pitches up there. And that's why today is a great topic of HR and IR, which we will assist with. So yeah, thank you. That's SA Childcare.
Thank you, Arno. So nice to have you and Hans on the call with us today. We're very grateful to have the experts in the field of HR and IR on the call with us, and people who are like-minded in wanting to really support ECD centers across the country. So Hans, I think it's over to you. I'd like to know a little bit more. Why did hundreds of people register for this webinar? Why is HR in ECD centers such a challenge? What is this challenge all about?
Hi, Helen, and a very good day to all our listeners, our Grow ECD listeners. It's a privilege and an honor for me to share my view about the ECD centers and HR and IR as such. I think you were right when you said ECD centers is a specific field. It's very unique in the sense that your schools are very small. There's not a lot of staff members employed. The economic situation, you sit with a very challenges with regarding to money. And at the end of the day, you sit with the thing that your ECD owners is not HR and IR specialists. They are people who want to look after kids, learners, and those type of things. However, each and everyone must comply. And if they're not complying, like Arno mentioned, then you sit with compliance orders, fines, and then it can become a major problem. So from our side, we looked at this, we listened to our members, and we said, you know what, we must do something. We must proactively approach this thing. And we decide, well, what are we going to do? You know, our ECD owners, they're not specialists. They're not HRIR specialists. And we, like you mentioned, we decided let's have a look at a toolkit to help the people. So that in a nutshell is why HR in the ECD environment is so important, but also so unique.
And tell us briefly about this HR and IR toolkit that we'll be diving into today.
Okay, about 3-4 years ago, 8 years ago, I started with SA Childcare, and we tried to help the people. And along the line, I decided, but you know what, we need to put something on the table. Our ECD owners, they're not specialists. What are we going to do? And we decide that let's put a toolkit together so that we can assist the members to comply, that we can talk from the same page. And when there's a Department of Labor or there is a CCMA referral, we know for a fact that the right documents are in place, the right information and the right things was used, so that when there's a CCMA case, when there's a Department of Labor, we can approach them and we know it's going to be successful. And we decided to put this toolkit together. The toolkit consists of 2 parts. The first part is the HR part, and I think that's the one that you mentioned that we're going to share and to say more about today. And then there's also the IR part, which is the disciplinary side, the discipline and grievance side. Also very important. And I think that's why the members are here today. They want to hear something that can help them and that can add value to the school and to learners, parents, and everything.
Yes, and the good news is that today, in today's webinar, you'll essentially be going behind the curtain. We'll show you the HR section, what's included in the HR section, and give you some very practical tips and advice for what you need to have in your personnel file so that you are ready for any audits or visits by the Department of Labor. And Hans is going to share some practical tips in each section. We'll also do a Q&A with him. Plus today, one of the people on this webinar will win the HR/IR toolkit, as well as the safety assessment that Arno mentioned. So just stay on the line. You might be one of the lucky winners. All right, Hans, let's get some practical. When I looked at the HR side of the toolkit, it talks about this personal file. And it says that each employee should have a file for each employee, and that in that file it should have 11 sections. And the sections, just for those of you who like a summary, you will get these slides afterwards, don't worry. These are the 11 sections. So Hans and I are going to go through each of these sections. Hans, will you start us off with what's the personnel file, and then we go into the personal detail form?
Great, Ellen. As I said, that talking about HR in general, it's a 4-year course at university. What are you putting on the table for the people, for the owners to say, you know what, if I've got this in place, I'm complying? And the best thing that we decided is let's have a look at the personnel file, the personal file. Because if the owner has got a personal file in place and all the right documents in place, he and she can be rest assured that if there's a CCMA case, and or if there's a Department of Labor coming with an audit, he or she will comply. And that is why we decide getting to, and if I, with your permission, go through the different sections. The section A of the file is your personal detail file. Firstly, that's your detailed form that you've got to have in place with all your numbers, your tax numbers, and your ID numbers, and all those type of things. This should be in place, updated regularly, because if somebody happens to something in the workplace, you must get hold of the next of kin or things like that. This personal detail form is also being used as your application form. Because you will agree with me that employing the right person in the right job is one of the most serious responsibilities for an ECD owner. In the document, we've got the man-woman specification document, which I've got 5 different areas that the owner can use to make sure that he or she looks at the right benefits, the right requirements, and at the end of the day, that the right person can be employed in the right position.
Excellent. And then
Good.
when people's information changes, we should be updating this document. But perhaps they're moving house, their cell phone number changes, you keep it updated.
And it must be regularly updated, and it must be in place.
Excellent. I see some people have raised their hands. Unfortunately, we can't take any questions during today's webinar because of timing, but you're welcome to put your questions in the chat. The next section, I get a lot of questions from center owners. This is about the contract. Tell us more, Hans.
Okay. If we look at the section A, you've decided on the person, you decide this is the right person for the job, right qualifications and everything, then he or she must have a contract of service. There is 4 different types of contracts of service. There's the permanent contract, your temporary contract, casual contract, and then the independent contractor's contract. Now, the last 2 is not used that much, but the first 2, the permanent contract and the temporary contract, is the 2 contracts that we are using a lot of times. If I can just mention the following about the different types of contracts, is that people tend to use the permanent contract with a 3 or 6 months probation period. That gives you a lot of problems, because the moment you do that, the staff member is already an employee in the company. And if he or she is not fitting into the company, not fitting in with the rest of the staff, you realize he hasn't got the right experience, then you must get rid of him by using the disciplinary process. So what we want to say to our listeners today is, use your temporary contract. The temporary contract has a starting date and an end date. That date you can make 9, 10, 11 months. That gives you time to have a look at the candidate that you appointed, and the contract make provision for, if one of the 2 parties wants to end the contract, they can end the contract with 1 week's written notice. So that helps a lot, gives the school the peace of mind that I can have a look, because some people tend to give the wrong information or not the correct information, ending up in a situation where you've got to fire, and what ends? A CCMA case is the next thing that you've got in your vision, and that's things that we don't want to have. We don't want to have things like that.
That's very good advice. Thanks. Yeah.
In our section B, we also got the other documents. That's normally the documents that we use for our foreign employees, our Zimbabweans and those guys. We've got a specifically contract for them, both permanent and temporary. And we've also got documents if they need to go for renewal of their permits, what to do. At the end of the day, when the Department of Labor comes there, you must be in line to say, here's the documents, this is the situation. And then there's also the letter of termination. If, like I mentioned, the temporary contract's got to be ended, the temporary letter of termination is there, you give it to him or her a week in advance, and you end the contract according to legal compliances.
That's very good advice. And also, when I was speaking to Hans, he had these great tips for us. Just tell us some of your tips here for signing a good contract.
Okay. Like in any contract that you're going in, be it for a car, be it for a house, be it for whatever, there's certain things that you must have in place. The first and important thing is the contract must be in writing. The contract, in your different contracts, there's annexes that are to be added to your contract. These annexes must form part of the contract. The documents must be signed by both parties. In a lot of cases, people want to take the contract for a third opinion or for somebody else outside to have a look if the contract is correct. That's 100%, and that you can do that. But at the end of the day, when he or she had a look at the validity or whatever, nobody should start as an employee with the school without a signed contract of service. And then last but not least, you should explain the contents of the document, and you should make sure that you have got a signed copy in your file because that is the basis you need if there's any CCMA cases or any legal issues afterwards. So that, in a nutshell, is the important things that you've got to look at and that you've got to have in place.
And Hans, I have a really great question here from Siggy. Siggy is asking, how long can a temporary contract be? And can you renew the temporary contract every year?
I think that's a very good question. I've mentioned that my advice to my members is, and the toolkit owners is, make the temporary contract as long as possible. If it's in the beginning of the year, make the contract from the beginning of the year until the end of the year. The contract can be ended anytime in between. If you see, but listen, this is a good candidate and this, I want this person in my school, you can change the contract and you can give him or her a permanent contract. Nothing stops you. A temporary contract, because you can take it for such a long time, you can maybe, if necessary, if there's very good reasons and valid reasons, you can extend the contract once. But the moment you have extended it once, thereafter, the staff member expectation will be created, and when he or she goes to the CCMA, you can say, but this is now you rolling this contract unnecessary. So if it's really necessary, if there's valid reasons, you can extend it once.
Excellent.
But the time lapse of 9 to 11 months gives you enough time to make sure that you appoint the right person in a permanent capacity.
Absolutely. Thanks, Hans. All right. Also, what I wanted to share, just a quick tip from Grow, is if you have the free Grow Giraffe app, in the resource center, you can download a free permanent employment contract template, which you can customize to your center. And you'll see that that contract includes valuable sections like working hours, leave, all of those types of requirements. All right. We have a lot to get through. We're only on section C now. So Hans, section C, job information. What do we need in here?
You'll see that we've got 3 points there. It's your job description, it's your non-disclosure, your confidentiality agreement, and the rules and regulations of the school. Now, I think the initial thing, say job information, tells you the story. This is very important. Why? A job description is a working document. It should be updated on a regular basis. It is so important because two things: you give your staff member the things that you need, and the staff member, by listing it down and checking it on a regular basis, make sure that he's doing what is expected from him. So the job description, you'll also see that the job description is also part of the contract of service. All 3 of these documents are annexes in the contract of service. The non-disclosure document is, to my mind, one of the most important documents. People come to your school, take all the information required, and take all the parents, and goes and open his or her own school. What legal grounds or what legs do you have to stand on? If he or she signed the non-disclosure, you've got a leg to stand on to say, unacceptable, illegal, I can take action. And last but not least, the rules and regulations. In the toolkit, we've got a draft of what is really required to be in this document. This is a very important document because with the rules and regulations in your school, you tell the person what you want and what you don't want. So if there is no rules and regulation, what must he or she do? So it is very important. And like I said, we have got a draft there, what's got to be captured. And then this is one of the most important documents looking at the personal file.
And Hans, what I really like what you were saying is this document is you keeping updating this document. If you are the leader of your ECD center, this document is not hidden away from colleagues and staff members. They must see this document. They must know that these are your expectations. They must have a copy of the document. In that way, everybody knows what is expected, what are the rules, and no one is surprised when we say I have feedback for you because you did not follow the rules. Everybody knows.
That's why I said that it's part of your contract of service, and the person must sign that he took note of it.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
what is the leg that you stand on if he says, but I did not know? Because if you go to the CCMA, that's one of the things. Was there a rule? Was the rule fair? Was he or she aware of the rule? Was the rule transgressed? So that is the basic things if you look at a CCMA scenario going further.
Excellent. For those of you who have the Grow ECD Giraffe app, you can also go into the resource center to download ECD job description templates. We have templates there for the center owner, a teacher, an assistant teacher, and I think also for a cook cleaner. All right, and those are all editable for you, for your center. Let's get to the next section, Hans.
Section D is the attendance management section. Here we've got the attendance register, or in some of the schools, they've got a clocking system. And here it's very important to make sure that the people are being logged in and out. It's so important because at the end of the day, when the Department of Labor approach, he or she wants to see the attendance register. And by doing that, they want to find out, was the person paid correctly? Because if a person completed an attendance register or used a clock card, it will also show you overtime, if overtime was used. So that is the basic document Department of Labor is using when coming for an audit at your school.
Okay, excellent. And you had some tips for us about the lunch hour. The lunch hour is a hot topic.
Yes, I think a lot of people does not know that your lunch hour is not included in your working hours. The lunch hour is only part of the working hours if the owner, the ECD owner, specifically ask the staff member to work during his or her working hour. Then it becomes a paid hour. But if the lunch hour is not part of the payment and should be handled accordingly. Okay,
excellent. And for those of you who have the Grow ECD app, remember that you can load all of your staff members, not just teachers, but cooks, cleaners, administrators, on your app, and you can use that to track daily attendance. So it's not an hourly attendance, but it's daily attendance, which could really be a helpful tool when you're corroborating that against leave taken, leave records, that type of thing. And you can download the staff attendance register as a report whenever you might need it for Department of Labor or any other reporting purposes. We're going to get on to a very good section now, leave management. Everybody's already starting to think about Christmas, Hans, and they want to know about holidays. Tell us, what do we do with leave management?
That's correct, Ellen. And you know what? People tend to think, but leave is not a big problem. I just give people leave. Leave is one of the most important things in the ECD, because leave, at the end of the day, means money. So if people go on leave, it's not recorded, it's not deducted. He or she's got an extra day or 2 or 3, means an extra few rand in the pocket. Now here we've got the normal, according to law, the normal leave situations, your annual leave, your sick leave, your family responsibility leave, and then for the ladies, your maternity leave. Annual leave, according to law, 15 working days per year, 21 consecutive days. Leave can be taken during the year. Most of the schools are using the leave over the December holiday. What is important according to law is that they must take 10 consecutive days leave annually. That's important. Sick leave, people should provide you with a note, a sick note. He or she must inform the ECD owner up front that he or she will not be there, enabling the owner to plan accordingly, to get people to be in the classes and stuff like that. But he or she, when back from the sick period, must provide the owner with a sick note. According to the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, employees can be off for 1 or 2 days without a sick note, and that is acceptable. But when it becomes a habit, and the person, and it's normally on a Monday or on a Friday, then you can ask the person, from now on, it's an habitual thing with you. If you're off, I want a sick note from you, and that is allowed. And then the family responsibility, 3 days per year, and the family responsibility is for close family, death, or serious sickness. And then maternity leave 4 months per year, not paid by the school, but paid by the Department of Labor, according to the normal procedures. So that in a nutshell is the...
Sorry for interrupting you, Hans. We have two related questions about leave. Filda and Sizakele have questions about whether leave during the school holiday is also counted, or Sizakele says that their school is closed during the school holiday. Do you consider that as leave? And I think that the answer is yes, but maybe you can just help them. How do you manage that, and what does it mean? Leave during school holidays or closing during school holidays?
You see, like I said in the beginning, in the ECD environment works according to the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. And there we've got 15 working days per year, or 21 consecutive days. So you'll see if people take school holiday leave, then we're going to about 50 days in a year. That for the school is a very big financial burden, because where does that money come from? So the school, the ECD must decide, are they going to use the time with the staff to catch up on the lessons and whatever is required? But there's only 15 working days per year, and the majority of schools is using it over the December period.
Yes. So that makes complete. So let's say your center is closed for 3 weeks during December, and it's probably 10 working days. Then those are compulsory leave days. And that is very normal and doable because of the nature of this business, right? There is no work at that time. So that's why the organization says we are closed at that time. Is that fair, Hans?
That's correct. That's how they use it. And then you've got the 5 days throughout the year, because there is days that people want some leave. And that's when you give them the 5 days during the year.
Yes. I see many other leave questions. We are going to ask Hans more questions a little bit later. I want to make sure we get through all the sections, and then we will see if we can come back to some of these. Section F is about industrial relations. Now, as Hans mentioned, the IR section is handled separately in their toolkit, and we'd need another complete hour and a half to cover. We don't have time for IR in this webinar. We're going to focus on HR specifically, but just know that this section of your personnel file would include things like warning letters, suspension letters, and grievance forms. Okay, so if you need more details on that, SA Childcare is the right people to contact. Let's get to section G, which is about policies and procedures. Hans?
Okay, Helen, this is also one of the very important things in the working environment. Because surely people can only know what to do, what they can do, if they've been told. So it is so important to upfront make sure that the policies are in place. If the policies are being given to the staff members and it's signed, at the end of the day, the staff member will act in the correct way, and no problems will be in future of I did not know, I was not sure. I want to just highlight two of them. The one that I want to highlight is the behavior management policy. This is very important in the fact that it gives you the policy and the relationship between staff members, the school, staff members and the colleagues, staff members and the parents, staff members and the community. So this policy gives a very good explanation as to what exactly is required in a situation in the ECD environment. That is a very important policy. And then the last one that I want to say something about is the study policy. Arno mentioned that In future, our teachers will have to be trained and qualified. Then surely there must be a study policy. How will we handle people that want to study, and how will we assist them? If there's assistance provided, then surely there must be a way of how are we going to handle that assistance that we are required, be it money, financially, or be it hours that we give them to do the studying work. So the bursary policy is a way of putting on paper, I'm going to pay for your studies, you're going to work back for me. I'm going to allow you time off, we're going to handle it as such. So those two policies to me is the two most important policies that one will have to have in place. This is the only policies that we have got in the toolkit. In some of the ECD centers, they require specific other policies. We can assist them by compiling the policies, and we can provide it to them at an additional cost. But this is the basic important policies in the working environment.
Excellent. And I just have to say that quick tip here, don't get caught out with people saying, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know, Hans. Really, I didn't know.
Yes.
Make sure all your staff receive copies of your policies, or that they're accessible and visible. You can download a selection of free policy templates from the Grow ECD Giraffe app. So we don't have all of these, but we have a variety of these. We have some others. So really, what I want to say is don't spend your whole weekend writing policies. People like Grow and SA Childcare are here to help you. And then you can just personalize it for your unique center, the way that you want to do things. All right, Hans, in section H, it's all about finance management. What goes into this section of the file?
I think mentioning the word finance management, it already says a lot, because at the end of the day, finance is so important in the ECD environment and in all businesses for that matter. In this section, we've got the banking details form that when a person, a majority of people are being paid EFT or one of those ways, you must have the correct banking details, a stamp from the bank to ensure that the money goes to the right bank. Payslip management, each and every member is entitled to a payslip. He or she wants to go for a loan outside of what he or she requires, a payslip. Timesheets and overtime management, we've got the forms there. People must and you must agree on if people has to work overtime. Why do they have to work overtime? Is it approved? And then the moment when it's approved and the documents are in place and you check on your attendance register, the comparison will be there, and the Department of Labor can see that this is why you've got to pay them a certain amount of money. Also, two important things here is people ask me, but what is the salary scales for people working in an ECD environment? The ECD environment at this moment has got no scales, no salary scales for teachers and assistant teachers and cooks and stuff like that. The ECD owner is normally guided by other schools in the area to see what is the going rate and what are they paying, to make sure that they are paying according to the basics. The next one that's very important is the minimum wage. The minimum wage is also a very important thing. We all know that on the 1st of March, the minimum wage were increased to 25.42 per hour and 4,956.84 per month. Here the schools are sitting with a very big problem, because in the majority of cases, where I mentioned in the beginning, they're small, they don't have the financial capacity, yet they must comply to law. Here our advice is if your school is small and stuff, pay your people per hour. When you pay them per hour, you can minimize the hours to make sure that you can comply. The moment you comply, you can decide, you can plan your staff bill at the end of the month. But it doesn't matter how big the school is, small, 1, 2 people, you've got to comply to the minimum wage. And that is a very important one here in this session.
Yes, and Hans, we see every day how this is a big challenge, because many centers are trying to keep their school fees low to accommodate their community, to make sure that their service is accessible. At the same time, so you're providing a service to your community and you're trying to keep it affordable. At the same time, you're also responsible for your staff, just as you are responsible for the learners. And that responsibility for your staff includes paying them fairly. So we have to start thinking about balancing these two, right? And I'm hearing what you're saying about the hourly rates. I'm sure many people will still have maybe more questions about that, but that's a very helpful slide. Thank you.
If I just can come in quickly there, people a lot of times ask me about increases. How much increase must I give to my staff members? The increase is already captured in your minimum wage. And next year, when the minimum wage goes up, the increase is already there. People that is earning above the minimum wage, that's where the school must allow them to work according to the inflation rate. Normally, if people are earning double that amount, you must decide, am I going to give them an increase according to the inflation rate, or am I going to give them a little bit more depending on the financial status of the ECD?
Absolutely. All right. Section I is all about safety and security. What do we need to have in place here?
Yeah, Helen, this is not a problem if there's not a problem at school. If there's no injury or there's nobody then this is not necessary. It's like the fire brigade. If there's no fire, we don't need a fire brigade, but the fire brigade must be there to make sure that it's covered. The most important thing here is to have a safety and security plan in place. And in this plan, you'll see that the rules and regulations is one of the important documents. So at the end of the day, the people must exactly know what to do to ensure safety and security. Each and every school must have certain appointments. Your safety representative is only for bigger schools with more than 50 staff members, which is not the majority of schools are not. It's not necessary to have the safety representative in place. But your first aider, your firefighter, your evacuation officer, and your security officer, people must be appointed, specifically appointed to fulfill that role. You can think for yourself, the moment a learner is dropped at the school, the parents are expecting the school to be safe and to have security plans in place. So that is not only very important to the staff members, but it's also important to the learners and the parents, the clients at the end of the day.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And then the training and development section.
Okay, section J is normally the section where all the training and development things are captured. Firstly, you've got to have all the certificates and the degrees and the diplomas. You've got to have the proof thereof, and you've got to put them in this document. Then if your teachers and assistant teachers must go for further training, we discussed it, and Arno discussed that in future, they will require that the people will have a specific qualification. We'll need to have a training schedule in place. How am I going to train my staff? Ensuring that we've got enough teachers and assistant teachers to look after the kids and to service the school. Once there's training schedules in place, you'll have to have a training roster, making sure that between the different teachers and assistant teachers, they all are being helped and assisted to get the qualifications. Because at the end of the day, a qualified teacher is a value to the school, the learners, and the parents. And that's very important.
Absolutely. And I think this time of the year, like October, November almost, is a very good time to plan ahead for the new year, to think about Absolutely. which teachers need what type of training. You could also even look at your learner assessment results and say, in what areas are our learners perhaps underperforming? how do we need to better equip our teachers to fill those gaps?
Exactly.
And let's face it, you don't have many employees, so you need to plan carefully so that you're fair. Everybody has an opportunity, and they're going on training that benefits them. One of the
Remember,
notes
we spoke about the uniqueness of the schools. Schools are not that big, not that much staff members, so it needs good planning.
Yes, and Hans, so SA Childcare offers ECD NQF level 4 and 5 training qualifications, and you also have accredited short courses, right? I don't know, I see you on the screen. Did you want to mention something about the short courses or the qualifications?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, look, the short courses, what we offer is it's a operational short courses. It's practical courses in terms of how to manage your classroom, how to manage parents, positive discipline, so how to better manage discipline in your classroom. So yes, we do have an array of courses. We call it 101 to 606, and then when you have completed those 6 courses, you can do a refresher course, which then we call an ECD educator. That's short courses. That's for any person. There's no minimum requirement in terms of entrance, so you don't need a matric or grade 11 for that. And then, as I mentioned, and maybe if there's an opportunity, I'll chat a bit about the NQF level 4 and 5 from the CETA. That's a more formal qualification, and there is a minimum requirements in terms of entry there, but I can explain a bit in terms of how it works and what it looks like currently. But that is what we do offer, and that is something that you can add in this section J.
Yes. Tell us about the NQF qualifications.
All right. Yeah. So in terms of that, you get your ECD level 4. That's a CETA qualification. That is and that is for a ECD practitioner. And then your ECD level 5, NQF level 5. That is a grade R practitioner. So that is a formal qualification. It takes anything from 12 months to 24 months to complete. And then currently it's outcomes based, which helps a lot. So we'll give you more detail a bit about that next month, but on the 27th of this month, last Wednesday of a month, normally we have what we call a family gathering for the members. We've decided to call it an extended family gathering, where we will then open up our member gathering on Facebook Live. So you can go to SA Childcare's Facebook page on the 27th of September, 12:15. And we will chat a bit about what the future looks like in terms of qualifications and what we see government, what's the way government goes. We had numerous meetings with the Department of Education and the role players, and we see where it's going in terms of what the minister told us in April when we were in a meeting. So good information, good stuff. It's a positive thing. It's not necessarily a negative thing for the sector. But more about that then at the end of the month. But this is indeed something that is very important to do. And there's big changes coming. So yeah, I think from next year, June, you won't be able to do a CETA qualification anymore. So you have a small window of opportunity where you can do this qualifications to your benefit. Thank you.
And then for those of you who already are qualified, let's face it, teachers are always learning more. And as center owners, there are unique things that you want to continue to develop, your professional skills as in leadership, financial management, business management. And this is where Grow can really help you as well. So when you use the, I sound like a record, when you use the app, the free Grow ECD app, there's a section that connects you to data-free online training. And we have various courses in there, from nutrition in your center, budgeting for ECD centers, marketing for ECD centers, fundraising, as well as education related topics such as our teacher development program, and how to run a learner assessment, how to run a teacher assessment. So really, there's no reason for any of us to sit and wait for something. If you don't have money to get trained and qualified, you can at least start by doing the free courses that are available.
Eileen, could I jump in there quickly, please? What's interesting, we did a survey and there was about 10,000 parents that participated in the survey. And you know what the number one thing was that they said they look at in a quality ECD center? Training of staff. Believe it, it's a fact.
Yes.
Interesting.
Do you want to mention something about the virtuals we do?
Is this the correct time now, Helene, or should
You're
we
welcome
do that?
to. You're welcome to. I'm going to take a minute.
So in terms of the health and safety assessment, as I mentioned, that's something that we go through with you. We call it a virtual health and safety assessment. So what we do is we send you a form, and then you complete that form in terms of your premises and your kitchen and so forth. So we ask different questions. Then from there, we schedule an appointment with you. So we can either do it on Zoom, or we sometimes phone on a video call on WhatsApp. And we walk through with you, through your school as a third person, and you show off a bit, and we also can give you some guidance in terms of what we see and what maybe you can look at. And then we compile a report afterwards, which we then send you that report. Look, we're not the police, so we can't say you must do this and that, but at least it gives you a good indication of what is the improvements that you can make going forward in the future, given your financial situation, obviously. But then you have an idea of how can I make my ECD center more safe for the children. At the end of the day, we all love kids, and we know the children are our future, and we want to make it safer for them. So that's the whole idea of that. And then, you know what? Parents, they're not stupid. They see when a school goes forward. They see when a school cares, and that's part of what makes your school unique then.
Awesome. I'm going to stop you there because we still have to do a lucky draw later where someone will win that kit. That tool. So Hans, I think section K is the last section, achievements and awards.
Then I'm going to be very short and give you the time because somebody is looking for a free toolkit. This section is a very important section because this is giving recognition to staff. We tend to look at the negative side only. We need to look at the positive side as well. Building a relationship, and it's here where you build your relationship. External recognition is where some of you people are being elected for national, provincial teams, provincial colors. Put it on the big screen. Give her the recognition. Make it so good for them, for them to enjoy that. Internally, look at your internal recognitions. Teacher of the month, assistant teacher of the month. That is, or the year. Put a small financial thing to it. Put something nice to it, so that at the end of the day, it's not only a driver, but it's also a productive driver. And then the last thing is in handling this thing is because this is giving you adding real value to your situation, and that is stimulating good competition amongst your staff members. It's enhancing the productivity in your school. It provides suitable recognition to staff. And last but not least, it gives that fulfillment of self-drive, walking the extra mile. And that is a thing that we tend to overlook. Helen, thank you so much. I think that brings us to there.
For those of you who are interested in how you can motivate your team even more, we did run a webinar on team culture and team motivation recently, and that video is recorded and available on our YouTube channel. We'll be happy to share that with anybody. So before we do, so we're going to do a lucky draw now. And while I go in and do the draw, Hans is going to answer one more question for us, the questions that you have. So we have two prizes today. Our first lucky draw winner will be selected from whoever 160 of you are live on the call right now. The first person will win a free SA Childcare HR and IR toolkit, and the second winner will get a free SA Childcare virtual health and safety assessment. So we're going to start a poll. I want you to look at your screen on your phone or on your laptop right now. And I want you to tell us, what is your biggest concern regarding HR and IR right now? If you can choose one of these, then Hans is going to talk to us on that issue while I sneak out and do the lucky draw. All right, the questions are, the responses are coming in. 80 people have already voted. 90 people have already voted. Ooh, and I also have written two questions here. We'll see how much time we have. Remember, for those of you who have to leave, that's fine. we will be able to see the answers on the recording later if you need to. I'm ending the poll in a few seconds. Quickly answer. Is it minimum wage, unqualified staff, sick leave and annual leave management, Steve absenteeism, or service contracts? Hans, I think you already know the answer to this question. I'm going to end the poll now and share the results. So 35% of you say that your biggest concern regarding HR and IR right now is minimum wage. And your second biggest concern is unqualified staff. All right. These are two tough tickies to chew, tough ones. I'm going to stop sharing and do my lucky draw. And then Hans, will you talk to us a little bit more about minimum wage and unqualified staff and how we can start thinking about doing this better without getting anxious?
Okay, thank you, Helen. I think I've touched it briefly earlier, but I think the most important thing is that schools must comply. That's rule number one. Schools must comply. If you are being visited by the Department of Labor and they check your minimum wage and it's not 25.42 or the 4,950 something, then you are in big trouble. And then you will receive a compliance order with a fine. And the fine is how much back pay do you have to pay your people? So what I advise our schools is to make sure to get to the minimum wage as quick as possible. How can we do it? Because we said in the beginning, the schools cannot afford it. So the only way to address this thing is to have a meeting with your staff. Tell them about the minimum wage. It is by law a requirement. Say to them that from now going forward, you are going to pay them on an hourly basis. Sit together and decide how are you going to do it. Because you can minimize your hours of work, getting people into two groups, that the one group starts 7 o'clock till 1 o'clock, and then the next group start 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Then you've got a little bit of overlap to address this stuff. But the most important thing is if you do that, you can start planning your remuneration bill at the end of the month. If people has to work 135 or 130 hours and you multiply that.
Oh dear. Is it just me or have we lost him? I think that the load shedding has just started. Okay. Yes, I see Arno saying that they also have load shedding. So sorry about that. It's 4 o'clock as well. So if I can get to our winners. Our first winner is Boetis Dorothea from Sedipa Academy in the Northern Cape. Boetis Dorothea from Sedipa Academy in the Northern Cape. All right, so we should have your details, but you can also reach out to me. And then our second winner is Avela Nsinka from Sienhoba Daycare Center. Avela, I hope you are still on the call. We have your details. We're going to reach out to you. I'm so sorry that Hans and Arno has been cut off. Unfortunately, the load shedding is beyond our control. It's been a very valuable few minutes, a jam-packed hour with the team from SA Childcare. The Grow ECD team, thank you so much for backing me up and supporting me on today's webinar. The Grow ECD app really is your little superpower. It's your whole school in your phone, everything you need connected. And what you can't get in here, Grow ECD is going to connect you to those people who can support you, such as SA Childcare for HR issues. So congratulations to our winners. We will reach out to you. For those of you who want to know more, find Grow ECD on Facebook, or you can email us at info@growecd.org.za. And we hope to see you at our next webinar. There were questions from Debbie about whether we have training on learner assessment. Yes, Debbie, we have online training on learner assessment, And we will also host a webinar early in October to walk you through learner assessment guidelines and reporting and all of that. The rest of the questions, I'm sorry that we did not have time. Thank you very much, everyone. We hope to see you at our next webinar. And thank you again to the team from SA Childcare Association who've joined us.